Ethan sat on the worn-out couch of his small apartment, staring at the stack of unpaid bills on the table. Just a year ago, life had been different. He had a stable job, a happy home, and a clear vision for his future. But then, everything crumbled. His company downsized, and he was one of the many left without a job. As days turned into months, the weight of rejection after rejection drained every ounce of hope from him. One evening, after yet another failed job interview, Ethan stepped outside for some air. The streets were wet from an afternoon rain, reflecting the glow of passing headlights. As he walked aimlessly, he spotted an old bookstore tucked between two modern buildings. Something about its dimly lit sign and the scent of aged paper drew him in. Inside, an elderly man behind the counter greeted him with a nod. Ethan wandered through the aisles, his fingers grazing over books he didn't have the energy to read. Just as he turned to leave, a framed quote near the register caught his eye. "Keep your face always toward the sunshine, and shadows will fall behind you." It felt like a message meant for him. The old man noticed Ethan staring at the quote. "That's a good one, isn't it?" he said with a knowing smile. Ethan nodded. "It's easier said than done." The man chuckled. "Most things are. But tell me, what keeps you looking at the shadows?" Ethan hesitated before answering. "Everything has gone wrong for me. I used to have a plan. Now, I wake up every day feeling lost." The old man leaned on the counter. "You know, when I was younger, I lost everything in a fire. My home, my job, even my car. I thought my life was over. But then I met a man who told me that if I kept looking at what I had lost, I'd never see what I could still gain. So, I started again, one small step at a time." Ethan listened, intrigued. "And that worked?" The man smiled. "It took time, but I decided that every morning I'd look at what was ahead instead of what was behind. And now I have this bookstore, a place filled with stories, lessons, and second chances." Ethan left the store with more than just words. He left with a shift in perspective. The next morning, instead of lying in bed dreading another day, he made a list, not of his failures, but of small things he could do. He applied to 5 jobs instead of 1. He reached out to an old colleague for advice. He even started learning a new skill online, something he had always put off. Days turned into weeks, and though life didn't change overnight, Ethan changed. He walked taller, spoke with more confidence, and kept his focus on what was possible rather than what was lost. Then, one afternoon, his phone rang. It was a job offer. It wasn't his dream position, but it was a step forward, and that was enough. Months later, as Ethan sat at his new desk, he found himself passing on the same wisdom to a struggling coworker. He smiled, realizing that he had become the kind of person he once needed. Moral of the story: keep your face always toward the sunshine, and shadows will fall behind you. No matter how dark life seems, hope and opportunity are always ahead. You just have to choose to look in the right direction.